Hi, this is King Fally from Deceased and October 31, and you're rocking with Poppitt's Corner.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Poppitt's Corner, episode 117, and I am super stoked and honored, as always, to bring on the one and only Mr. Mike Abominator on the show. Mike, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm super excited to have you on the show, and we get to talk some shit, as always. You know how it rolls here. So, before we get started, how you doing? How you been during the since we last kind of talked, what, 6-7 months ago, I would say?
Yeah, something like that. It seems like it's been a while. You know, lots happened. Nothing too crazy though. Just a lot of busy behind the scenes music stuff or whatever, and getting this Ruin album ready for Friday's big release day. And No Clean Singing dropped the full stream today, so that was interesting. I didn't even know that was happening, but it's all good, man. People seem to dig it. So the whole entire album's up of Spread Plague Death by Ruin. Go check it out on No Clean Singing.
Absolutely. It's as filthy as you want Ruin to be. So I mean, you can't ask for more there as far
it's
as
pretty filthy. Yeah, you're gonna need some rehab, maybe some mental help, definitely a shower after listening to it. It's gonna make you feel dirty and filthy.
I was talking to our boy Shannon Fryer.
What's up, Shannon?
Since he works at like a facility cleaning stuff, and I was telling him, like, dude, this album is so filthy it'll clean your toilets. It's that filthy. So,
yeah, Shannon's gonna have to professionally clean it. He's gonna clean the album. He's gonna clean everyone's asses after listening to it because it's gonna make you shit. A lot of brown notes.
Well, if we can start here, whatever is I kind of want to know how your writing process was kind of different from Human Annihilation to this Spread Plague Death record. Did you guys do anything out of the norm per se for this record?
Not really. I mean, it's not like we're progressing or anything, but we definitely, I mean, you're never, ever going to mistake Ruin for a progressive band. So don't get it twisted. It's not going to happen. But we did branch out a little bit with some of the haunting and eerie melodies and whatnot. And there's a few different elements or whatever, but it's still the exact same method of just really, really burly and brutal heavy death metal, heavy old school death metal or whatever. I mean, David and I kind of go into it with the same, I'm writing the riffs and, then David and I jam it and then everybody else adds the layers, and the other guys have some ideas or whatever, but the other guys are like really talented. So they'll fuck with the sound too much if they add too much to it. So it's got to have that simplistic, ignorant, Mike element to it. And we like to keep it that way. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so to speak. So,
well, how do you find, let me branch off this real quick. How do you find the balance when it comes to like finding the frequencies, when it comes to like having the notes be pristine? Because we know it's heavy but it still sounds pristine. Like you can still hear the notes and whatnot. So you turn to what, drop A or whatever it is at this point, or G? Or
yeah, it's like G minor. I always joke it's Z minor. So yeah, well, I mean, we've had a couple of guys jamming with us in the past, trying to help out with releases or live shows or whatever, and they can't figure it out. They can't wrap their head around the tuning, and they don't like it. Yeah, it's understandable. Not a big deal. We just move on to somebody else or whatever. I got the good unit here, and I mean, trust me, it's not like Rob, Chris, and Steve are all that thrilled about playing this low, and it's kind of comical sometimes how low it is, especially with Steve's bass. So it's like, and but these guys know what they're doing, and they have good equipment. They're very knowledgeable and talented with sound and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I have some of the best guys in the business, in the scene, as musicians, So they, for some reason, they follow what I'm doing here with this whole concept, and I appreciate it. And I mean, you know, if I was in charge of all that shit, you know, the recordings would be just horrible, you know. So luckily we got people that know what they're doing. So yeah, it's very down-tuned and dismal and fucked up, but it's important to have that clarity, because that way the attack comes through. So if you basically, the way we're tuning, if we don't do it right, there's not going to be a lot of power to it. So we got to make sure that, you know, we have everything in key, everything's in tune, you know. It's hard. It's actually harder to keep things in tune sometimes when you're playing that low or whatever. But, you know, for us, it just has that real evil and dark feeling to it that, you know, we want to make it sound like hell, basically, like the true hell. And I know a lot of bands will say that, whether it's black metal bands or even Slayer and Venom or whatever. But, you know, we definitely want to, you know, make you feel very uncomfortable with the quote unquote music that we're spewing out. So playing at those really dismal, you know, fucked up down tune levels, it's kind of a chore sometimes, but it works out in the end. And it's, you know, we do work hard at trying to get everything in tune properly and get everything situated to where, yep, all right, we're good to go with this. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of these riffs, they just wouldn't sound the same in the E tuning or even C or some of the other down tune levels that some of the other bands use. It wouldn't sound right. It just, when we do it, it just makes it that much more dark and evil, you know, with that tuning. So, but yeah, I mean, the first part of the question, as far as that, there's not really that much of a difference. Like I said, I think that we are kind of branching out a little bit. We've had some, it's almost like you can't do the exact same thing over and over again. You know, I don't want to release the same album every time. So I think there was a little bit more ideas and outside influence with this one. And because of the pandemic and everything, you know, we had a better opportunity to really sculpt and work on the songs. And we did it in like 2 or 3 sessions too. So we didn't do it all at once, because we had to do it because of scheduling and the pandemic and all the crazy shit that was going on. We had to do it in chunks, so to speak. So it was interesting doing it that way. And it kind of made it a little hard, you know, once it got into the mixing stage and the engineering and all that kind of stuff. It was trying to get all the same levels on everything. And, you know, you want to make sure the microphones are placed in, you know, in the same areas. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's really heavy, fucked up death metal. And you know, it's supposed to be kind of loose and sloppy and fucked up. So, you know, but I mean, you heard the new album. I think we pulled it all together pretty well. And, you know, for a heavy death metal record, from what I understand, that it's very putrid and disgusting sounding and really raw and heavy, but people have been telling me like, wow, it's just kind of surprising and how well it's produced. And a lot of the, you know, eerie harmonies and crazy melodies that are on there that haven't been there before or whatever, that don't really, it's not like we've changed or anything, but we wanted to add a little bit more of a horrific element to some of the riffing and whatnot, and do some more layering and whatnot. And I know as guitar players, those guys have fun, you know, Rob and Chris have fun playing some of those high notes and whatnot, just a nice change of pace or whatever, instead of just playing those, as I say, the heavy brown notes or whatever all the time. Because most of our riffs are, you know, open 1, 3, 4, you know, maybe go up to 5 every once in a while, but a lot of it's just up there in the heavy end of the spectrum. So,
well, I want to go back real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but you said I think the word you're thinking of is there's a lot of clarity on this specific release. Rather, that's what I kind of found more in the Spread Plague Death record compared to Human Annihilation, is there's a lot more clarity with the riffs and whatnot, but it still maintains that solid, putrid, filthy fucking death metal that I love. So I've just that balance that you guys have is awesome.
Yeah, I think honestly the sound and production on the other 2 albums, Drown in Blood and Human Annihilation, is, you know, they're we love them, and they were very heavy and very raw and everything, and a lot of people love them too. Obviously, it's really helped to put us on the map, and we appreciate that, and we're proud of those records. But those records were really specifically recorded in a real different manner than this, and I kind of made the decision. I was talking to David and Chris, and I was kind of like, I think that we should up the production value a little bit on this one. And we normally do track a lot of our splits and EPs with John Haddad over at Trent Studios for the drums. And, a lot of people use John because he's got like the best drum room in Southern California. There's something about his drums that just sound fantastic. And he's a drummer, so that's part of it. But there's something about his room that's really like magical in that sense. So on Drown in Blood and Human Annihilation, we didn't record the drums with John. We actually recorded live in our studio everything. So it was a little bit different, and we did everything on kind of, we did it on some questionable mics, some microphones, whatever, to make it more raw, so to speak. So we were using some interesting mic setups and whatnot just to make it really raw and dirty and nasty, right? So this time we worked with John on the drums, and then we actually had like more of a professional, quote unquote, rig recording the guitars and whatnot, the bass and everything. And we went that route with the music and spent a lot more time on the mix, making things heavy. Christian did a fucking insane, great job on the mix, and worked his ass off on that. I mean, again, especially during the pandemic, and we're with all the schedules we all have with kids and jobs and all that kind of stuff, and it was he did a great job, and was able to get it to a point where it's just like, okay, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the crushing heaviness of more of like our live shows, because I always thought we were a lot heavier live than we were on, especially the album recordings, and he was able to have a lot more clarity this time. So it's still dirty and filthy, but it was also cleaner in a sense, in a weird way, but not in a bad way either, because I think some bands, just metal and other, punk and grindcore and other extreme music in general, sometimes the clean, crisp production doesn't suit me in my ears very much. I like it raw and dirty. I think rock and roll in general, all the way starting from like Little Richard and Chuck Berry, moving up to modern day stuff. I think it's for me, it's better if it's just raw, that nice wall of sound and distortion, and gets you rocking, gets the energy pumping for me.
Sure.
I'm not really a big fan of clean production in that sense, but I think that there is a real healthy balance with the clean and the dirty on this record more so. And I think that this is the best production we've ever had, and then Dan at Mammoth Mastering did the final mix and mastered it, and he worked on the Vrenth record, Baptism Death. So he killed it on there.
That's a great record too.
Christian did the mix on that too. So it was kind of like the same team that did the Vrenth pretty much did the Ruin, and since we have a lot in common with both bands and we share members and we're all in the family and the cult,
Sure.
I was like, fuck it, I want to work with the same team and do pretty much 85% of the same stuff that we did on the Vrenth record I want to do on the Ruin record. And I think it worked out. It really helped Ruin shine, so to speak, even though that's kind of a lame term in a lot of ways, but it's kind of true,
Absolutely. Now, I want to shift my focus here on one aspect that I've neglected to ask you specifically over the years, and that's these movie intros that you particularly put in almost everything that you do specifically, whether it be, I don't know, Grave Hill or Ruin or Gasp. I'm just kind of curious, when you pick like a movie quote or an intro or something, how do you know what song it's going to go to? Or do you write around a specific kind of intro? Is that kind of a weird question for me?
No. For Ruin, it was funny. I just did another interview with a blog, and I was laughing. I was like, the only intricate thing about Ruin are the samples. Everything else about Ruin specifically is very fucking raw and simplistic. That term caveman or whatever that everyone uses now, that's being thrown around. I guess Ruin has something to do with that. And the samples are very, very thought out, arranged specifically for each song, each concept. So basically, the way the music flows, the way the lyrics are, the song title, we grab specific soundscapes and samples for that song. The intro of the album is very specific leading into the next song. It's very well thought out, methodical, it has to fit to a T. So if there's a good serial killer line or movie line or whatever it may be, a church choir, any type of music that I think fits the concept of a certain song, then that's how it flows together. And then we just kind of shift the sound around to kind of match, basically. So, it's like every album, basically the band is a concept. Every release is a concept that kind of runs in conjunction of basically like a serial killer on an acid trip living a nightmare and having to kill to get rid of the pain that he's feeling inside or whatever. Or she, a being that is just on a murderous rampage and the thoughts that they have to deal with going through this. Whoever it may be, you close your eyes, place yourself into that story with our music, and it kind of takes you on that journey or whatever. Might be interesting, might put people in a bad mental state or whatever, but that's kind of what the concept is meant for. So all the soundscapes and samples for Ruin specifically are to fit that. With Gravehill, we were really influenced by a lot of the Orange County bands from back in the days, like Mind Rot and Morjon, that would use sound samples, and Carcinogen and Dystopia specifically too. They were really, they had a sample on every song, and that was a huge influence on Gasp and Gravehill and Ruin and even Vrenth, since I'm a part of that or whatever. It's kind of tells a story in a sense. It's really important. A lot of times, especially with the Ruin stuff, it's just as important as the songs themselves. It's supposed to put you in a certain mood or whatever. And with Gravehill, like Rhett and I we would grab, samples here and there. We didn't use them as much as obviously, even Gasp, or definitely not as much as like Dystopia or Ruin does, on every single song or anything. But, we would just grab stuff that kind of fit whatever, whether it was like Clint Eastwood or something, just the attitude, kind of fit the song. So I know, like on Pissing on Your Grave on the Rights of the Pentagram record, we grabbed a Gran Torino sample where Clint Eastwood's just talking shit, it fit the mood. Like, I'm going to piss on your fucking grave, So there's a lot of specific things that we would find, same thing with Gasp, where we would use a little bit more samples on stuff. Back in the day, like on the Sword for Days demo, we grabbed that Richard Pryor skit talking about The Exorcist or whatever, so it was just really funny, but it fit. And the intro sample, I forget what movie that was from, but it was just a fitting thing, I forget what sample that was, or where the hell we got that. That was a long time ago, but yeah, the samples are really important, I even used them in Dirty Mike and the Boys in between every song or whatever, and that was much more comical. That was a lot of fucked up movie quotes and just people going off or whatever, but it fit a mood, it's kind of fits the mood or whatever. It kind of sets sets the tone. Sure.
And I got to ask, if hopefully this question is not out of bounds for me to ask this, has any of these movie quotes gotten you guys in like severe hot water? Has there ever been like I don't know, a studio that owns that specific movie or something that's come back and says like a cease and desist? I'm just I don't know what it takes to do a movie quote on a record. So if you can kind of guide me and the listeners, I would appreciate that.
No, we don't really use obvious stuff, and it's kind of like intellectual property. I kind of looked up the copyright and trademark laws and whatever. Yeah, there's always a chance that we might get in trouble on certain stuff or whatever, but with like a really nasty underground death metal band, I don't think a lot of those places are going to be paying attention to us. I guess the more and more that we move into the mainstream, I guess we might become more of a target. A lot of the samples and stuff are serial killers and, stuff like that. We don't really use a whole hell of a lot of movie quotes. If you really if you really listen to our stuff, a lot of it's serial killer stuff. A lot of it's music that we create ourselves too. It just, we do soundscapes, or we'll take stuff off of other movie soundtracks or whatever and just kind of warp it backwards and just fuck it up. You can't even tell what it is.
Sure.
We actually have the Yogi Bear theme on one of the fucking songs, and we down-tuned it so low you can't even tell what it is. And then we ran the bear attack going over the top of that. It was like we have a lot of Easter eggs and inside jokes with this band, with Ruin specifically. So we have a lot of subliminal weird stuff like that. You got the Yogi Bear theme running under a live bear attack, a guy and his wife getting eaten alive by bears on one of our songs. That's the one where the guy's screaming and shit, the bear's eating him.
Yes, the band video. What the fuck is it? They would never show the video, but you always could hear the...
Right. Yeah, you can hear it. The audio was left on. Yeah. They don't show the video.
Brutal.
Yeah, because they were recording it as it happened. They were living amongst the bears. And so they got torn up by the grizzlies. So yeah, that's a live bear attack. There's people getting murdered by bears right there. And then we ran the Yogi Bear theme underneath. So that's our fucking tongue-in-cheek shit that we got going on. We got a lot of that, man. And we don't disclose a lot of our sources and whatever. So yeah, we pitch shift a lot of stuff and warp it and fuck it up and play it backwards. So you can't even tell what it is. We got so much source material too. I mean, our library, on my computer and Christian's computer, even Haddad's, we got so much shit. Because those guys are sound engineers. My old buddy Gary that used to engineer our stuff in the beginning, he's got backup drives. I mean, for miles of all that type of shit. He's just those guys are just sound nerds in that sense, and they just collect all this stuff. So we have an endless supply of this stuff. Plus, there's always YouTube, and we have DVDs and VHS stuff we can record. You can get good recordings off your phone these days, so
absolutely.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Now let's go back to the Spread Plague Death release, and I want to go back to a point that you made earlier. Is you mentioned that you had outside influences on this specific record. I'm just kind of curious, some of the bands that you were particularly listening to, then you kind of were listening to on like the Human Annihilation record, like any of like outside influences on this specific record.
Well, we didn't, not necessarily outside influences. What I meant by that actually was more of the input from the other guys on some of the stuff, some of the input. And I kind of branched out a little bit with more advice on stuff. And Christian was a much bigger part of stuff. I mean, a lot of the times I'm just going in there and the riffs are ready to go. So, and the guys are just basically, oh yeah, no, that sounds good. Let's roll with it. Just show me the riff, and that's how I'll play it. So, we pretty much have the same influences we've had this whole time. I mean, we all, we're really into movie soundtrack stuff. Obviously with the samples, but not just for that too. For writing songs too, we get a lot of influence by some of the classic movies and the music that's in the background or whatnot, and other types of music too. Obviously we're metalheads at the heart of it all, but you can't listen to the same shit all the time, so there's all kinds of different influences that are out there that we all like. I mean, especially David and I, where, he's all into funk and old school hip hop, and, so am I. And then I like a lot of, Godspeed You Black Emperor, Mogwai and stuff like that, Sonic Youth. So if you notice, a lot of the guitar feedback and a lot of the harmonies and stuff is definitely influenced by some of that type of stuff. But even, classic heavy metal bands like Iron Maiden and Priest always had layered guitars and crazy harmonies over some of the heavy riffs or whatever, to kind of accent it or whatever. So definitely wanted to throw a lot more of that in there. But as far as like outside influences, as far as bands go, it's pretty much the same stuff. Like I said,
Sure.
We just kind of branched out a little bit with the songwriting this time.
And let's go. So this year is going to mark the 25th, if you can believe it, the 25th anniversary for the Gasp Sore for Days demo.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of curious how you and the rest of the guys and gal are going to celebrate this specific demo, and it's kind of become like almost a staple in the underground Orange County kind of market, as it were. So I'm just kind of curious how you guys are going to celebrate this release. Is there going to be, I know you guys mentioned a vinyl. Is that still coming down the pipe? Because, you know, the whole delay with the factories and whatnot. And
yeah. No, you know, it's funny that there was a old friend of ours on the Instagram page for Gas pointed out, like, hey, it's the 25th anniversary of Surfer Days. And we're just like, honestly, we had no fucking clue, you know, in our messenger chat online, you know, the band chat that every band has that, you know, right? So the Gasp chat, we were chatting about that, and we're just like, what the fuck, dude, that's so crazy, you know? So we didn't even realize it. And it was just like, wow, it's 25 years old now. And it's kind of cool because the vinyl is in process. It's off at press as we speak. We've just been chatting with Ralph at Haunted Hotel Records. And yeah, he said that it's off there. Now, when is it exactly going to be coming out? I don't know. That, you know, it's almost like, yeah, there you go. You'll have a vinyl soon there, Tanner. Yeah, you know, for a while there, it seems like the vinyl factories or whatever and the pressing plants were getting caught up, and now it seems like they're behind again. So obviously this pandemic has really fucking thrown a wrench in a lot of things.
Sure.
And,
are you going to play it in its entirety soon or something? Is that coming down the pipe?
I don't know. I mean, as far as like shows and stuff like that, we're still kind of hesitant. I think Ruin got lucky at the end of June when we played the June 26th show for Adrian. We got really lucky because the cases were kind of calming down. Everything seemed to be kind of opening up and getting back to normal again. And then here we are. We're getting going the wrong way again. So we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think it's necessarily the best time for us as a band to try to plan something as far as like a album release. Plus the Sword for Days vinyl isn't out yet. The CD's been out for like three and a half years, you know? So, and then, you know, Robert at Neuro One and Will Butler at To Live a Lie did the cassette tape back in, was that 2017? And they did it for the Power Violence Fest that we did up in Oakland that year. And those tapes sold out real quick. So I think they're going to do another tape run. So yeah, the Surfer Days CD and the tape versions have been out for a bit, and it's taken a long time to get this vinyl out. You know, we had a couple other labels that were going to do it, and that fell through. And then Ralph saved the day. You know, he was our hero on that, and he decided to take it over. So we'll probably do something once that vinyl comes out, because that's going to be special. You know, that vinyl release is going to be the best thing about the whole re-releases here. As cool as the CD and the tapes were, you know.
Sure. Well, you can always do like a live stream or something like that too. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be necessarily like a live show, but I know I'm seeing more and more bands doing live streams and setting it up all professional. So where people can buy tickets and whatnot, or I'm sure.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't sell tickets. I mean, we wouldn't. That's fine for whatever bands that want to do that or whatever. We wouldn't sell tickets. We'd probably just do a free live stream or something like that. We're going to get together shortly. We actually got together a couple months ago and did some stuff with our friend John Weiss and Sissy Spacek, and we're talking about doing a collaboration, kind of like a split release or whatever, with some new material. So we recorded a bunch of material over a few days and did different sessions with John because he was here in town. And so we did chat about some future stuff or whatever. And, you know, as far as, I guess when Los Angeles and Orange County and whatnot completely open up and everything's good to go and everybody feels comfortable, probably is a good time. By that time, hopefully the vinyl will be done and then we can do a proper release or whatever and have everybody there. But as far as like a live stream in our jam room or something, we haven't even jammed as a whole band in quite a while. So I guess we just have to talk about that and try to figure something out. That would be cool. I know that the Gasp fans out there would definitely be down for that. I don't know if we would do Sore for Days front to back. I mean, we do play a couple of those songs, and we probably were going to add another song or two from the demo to our live set at some point. You know, because like Planet of the Apes is a really good song. And we always play Sore for Days, the title track. That's a classic. That's what kind of we were known for, you know, because that was on the Cry Now, Cry Later compilations too. So, so yeah, we'll probably do something along those lines. We have a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we're working on as far as re-releases and whatnot for some of this stuff. Because now we got to do the LP too, the drum trailer LP that Slapaham did. We're working on doing that. Ralph's going to do that as well. But, we got to get this Sore for Days out first.
Sure.
And then we'll talk about doing the drum trailer next. And then, we'll have some, like you mentioned the live stream. That's a good idea. We kind of loosely talked about that off and on, but it is a good idea. I know more and more bands are doing that. And if for some reason the cases get really bad again and, touring gets shut down again and gigs get shut down
again. That's all we're going to have, dude. That's
pretty much all we're going to have again.
And these interviews, that's it. These interviews and live streams. Now, I got to ask you about, and I'm going to bring it up here real quick, so give me a minute. I want to talk about the album cover, and I'm just kind of curious what the album cover represents, how it represents the rest of the record. Is it solely based on the title track, Spread Plague Death, or is it like a combination of just everything in your lyrics and put together on a fucking canvas, or like what am I looking at here? Can you...
basically, so my friend Janine, this is a painting. So I really liked her artwork and I had been wanting to work with her for a while. And this ended up being the perfect project. I was actually going to have her do some other stuff. And she posts a lot of pictures on her Facebook and her Instagram. And I was just like, fuck, this is great. And, some of it was just sketches, but I was just kind of like, I think her and I can come up with a pretty cool concept with some of those dirty sketches that she does. And then she could just kind of go to town on it and paint it. And it'll come out because she says, I also do a lot of painting. And I was like, oh, man, I've always wanted to do a painting album cover, instead of just the typical, which nothing against, Caleb that did the Human Annihilation and then, Caesar that did the Drown in Blood. But this was pretty insane to actually, because they do just regular drawing, line art with those pieces, which are fantastic. But this was a original painting that was custom made for this. And, I did the same thing with Janine that I do with all the artists a lot of times. If I'm doing a custom piece and I want them to do it from scratch, I just send them the lyrics and the music and say, okay, what do you think? And then basically let their imaginations run wild, so to speak. So that's what I did with Janine. I just told her, serial killer, fucking having fucking acid fucking trip, hallucinating, murdering people, and what's going on inside their hell, their heaven, whatever you want to call it, their head, and what's going on up there. And that's what she threw together, and it was just fucking perfect. It was really disgusting. It's definitely the most disgusting art piece that has been done for us thus far, So she fucking knocked it out of the park, and basically it's based around all the songs, so there's pieces of every song in this piece. So in the art piece, so she just took the lyrics and kind of just went to town with the concept of it, and she killed it,
Absolutely. Well, the rest of the record, it definitely, you guys killed it on this specific record. It's always funny that and let me go off at this point too. So initially, Ruin literally only had like one demo in like '91, and then you guys get back together, and there's fucking 50 million splits now and 3 full-length records. So you guys are like killing it as far as the material goes. I mean, you hit the ground running, and I think this specific record, for me personally, is my favorite of the 3 records in question. But it is also album 3, which is typically the band's kind of, I don't know, the climactic album for a band. Album 3 is usually the one that I don't know, you should kind of start with. And this would be a record I would start people who have kind of never heard Ruin before.
That's cool. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I mean, every asshole says, "Oh, you know what? Our latest album's our best, and we're heavier and faster than ever, and this and that." So I'm not going to blow smoke up people's asses, but I honestly think it's our best record so far. Nothing against those other albums. We're proud of those works, like I said, but everything just came together on this. We had a lot of people involved too that helped out. A couple of the prior records, we didn't have everybody there because of scheduling or whatever. Maybe somebody was in jail, or somebody was out of town or whatever, or just busy fucking doing other things, working or whatever. They couldn't be a part of it. So there was a lot more continuity, and everything just kind of pieced together, all the schedules, the planets aligned, so to speak.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
So it all came together.
Now, lastly, before I let you go, I want to thank you for giving me a couple minutes of your time and helping me promote this specific record, because it rules. I highly recommend people go check it out and get a copy of Spread Plague Death. Where can people find it as far as physical media? Because that's still a prominent thing in our metal community right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we got so you can hear the album stream in its entirety on No Clean Singing right now. So I know a lot of people don't like streaming or whatever, but it is what it is. It's here, and it's here to stay. So we don't mind it. It's helping to spread the plague of death, so to speak, for us. But you can go to thedeathmetalcult.bandcamp.com, and you can buy the vinyl LP version. You can buy the CD. You can buy the cassette tape. And there's a couple of variants left on the cassette tape. There's different colors, and we got an Obi strip variant as well. And you can also get the digitals, the digital files if you want. And you can play it on the Bandcamp if you want to. So yeah, that's where we have other merchandise up. We usually have a lot of shirts and, stuff up. We still have patches left, and we got some new shirts and more ski masks coming. So that's cool. But those ski masks were pretty fucking popular there a few months ago. So we had to get some more made. But yeah, you can get the album there, and the official release date is this Friday, the 27th. So keep an eye out for it. Again, No Clean Singing is hosting the exclusive stream right now, and they will be moving forward for the next few days. You can get it on there, and then eventually we'll have the entire thing up on our Bandcamp once they streamed it for a bit, and that cycle's over. But yeah, you can get those formats on the Bandcamp. Just type in
Absolutely
thedeathmetalcult.bandcamp.com.
Well, Mike, thank you so much again for giving me a couple minutes of your time. Really dig this record, Spread Plague Death. Make sure to go pick it up, everyone, because it fucking rules.
Thank you.
Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. For another episode of Poppitt's Corner, I'm out of here, guys. Cheers.